You're
I'd like
live.
to call this meeting of the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Common Council to order. It is 7:01 on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022. My name is Tom Livingston. I'm the chair of the committee. With me tonight, the other members of the committee, I'll just call the names: Mr. Keegan, Ms. Smith, Ms. Ayers, Mr. Burnett, and did I miss anyone?
I'm here.
Oh, Ms. Altman, I didn't see you. Thank you. And Mr. Huberman may join us later. So we do have a quorum and we'll move forward. Hey, is there anybody here for public participation?
Yes, we do have Diane Lorcella with their hands raised.
Okay. Diane?
And Diane, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Tom? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Looking forward to hearing and listening to the discussion items as well as the agenda items. I wanted just to speak about two items on the list under new business number 2, discussion of building sustainability design and alternative energy options at Norwalk High School. Last month, I listened with concern as the consultant who has been hired to design or present these options throughout some what I call kind of dog whistles as far as the fact that, oh, we think this will be too expensive for this school to employ, but we will come back and discuss it. Now, the thing is, I am a member of the Connecticut Green Building Council. I'm not speaking as for them, but I have a working knowledge of the ability to use all sorts of alternative energy options that have not been used, including ground-mounted solar. And because there are many school districts in Connecticut and beyond that have somehow found a way to afford through leasing especially, and I hope that's discussed, leasing versus owning a system, they found a way to have the majority of their school buildings in cities like Danbury, towns like Newtown, large towns like Fairfield. Somehow they found a way to reduce their energy costs by hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, yet Norwalk keeps coming up with all the reasons why not, including the use of carport solar, which at Jefferson School was kind of dismissed. Again, using cost as the reason. So I'm hoping that we will find a way. And again, the explanation of net zero energy school, I know what that means. And the way it was described by the consultant was a little bit insulting to me because I've been bringing up that phrase, net zero energy schools and buildings. It is important. And I wanted to know if that kind of structure is going to take place on this school. And lastly, for designs of buildings like the Norwalk Fire Headquarters, number 3, D3, and E, the building management system for South Norwalk Library. Have we done studies to make sure that we are sealing the air leaks before we add systems? I know there was a description in the notes, in the backup, and I thank you for having backup for the public to look at by Mr. Lowe. Have we sealed the leaks in the South Norwalk Library before we throw money at other good things? Let's make sure that we are running really efficiently, not putting just light bulbs in. It has to be more than that, and not just putting a new boiler in. We have to seal the building envelope. That is 101 in energy efficiency. So I look forward to hearing about whether any of this has been done and whether we're applying net zero energy building design to Norwalk High School and looking at retrofitting South Norwalk Library and the fire headquarters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. Let me just note that Mr. Huberman has joined the meeting at 7:05. Is there any other person signed up to speak? Or not signed up to speak? Anybody raise their hand?
No.
Okay, has any member of the committee received any correspondence to share with the committee? Seeing none, I will now close public participation. And unless there's any objection, I'm going to defer consideration of the minutes of the meeting of April 6th because I have a number of changes and I don't think it's really fair to read them to you on the call. It's too hard. So I'll just defer those minutes to the next meeting. All right, moving on to old business. Item 4A, review the technical correction below and refer the recommendation to the council for approval. Technical correction, amend common council action on April 12th, 2022, item 7D6 to correct the account number from 092250105777 CO 619 to read as follows. Authorize the purchasing agent to increase the purchase order for Special Testing Laboratories, Inc. for materials testing and field inspection services from the Jefferson Elementary School renovators new project for an additional amount not to exceed $30,000. Funds are available in account number 091950105777 CO 619. Do you have a motion? Anyone? Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, new business. Item 5A, review Carver Center's request for the construction of building additions and refer following recommendation to council for approval. Authorize the Office of Building Management to sign off on a zoning variance application on behalf of the city as the property owner for the proposed building additions at and to be constructed by the Carver Center building. Do you have a motion? Mr. Burnett, thank you. Alan, I see Novelet's here, but I'll let you take the lead.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. Yeah, the city of Norwalk actually owns the property where the Carver Center is situated. But the Carver Center a number of years ago, back in the 70s, the city helped with Carver Center to obtain federal dollars to build a building. So we have since determined that the generally speaking, the Carver Center owns the building and we own the land. So I think about a year ago, or no more than a couple of years ago, we have that clarified that the city owns the property and they own the building. So it's really kind of a unique situation. Recently, Carver Center came to me on behalf of the city to they have received funding to do a entrance improvement with ADA access to a second floor elevator and also extension to the back of the building. Because the coverage requirements, the zoning regulation does not allow the additional coverage building footprint. So based on everything we look at, I think the best way to handle this is go for a variance request. But since the city is a property owner, we have to sign the variance application. So since it's typically I would sign building permits, requests, and applications and stuff like that kind of thing. But this is such a unique situation, so I'm bringing it to the land use committee and the common council. So there's a formal authorization because it impacts the physical footprint of the building and things. Our response, the city responsibility, we just as a property owner, we just apply for it. All the responsibility of kind of design and funding and defending, making the case with ZBA, it's all the responsibility of Carver Center. Tonight, I have two people from the Carver Center here representing them. If Nalven and then okay, sorry. If you first can introduce yourself and explain the project a little bit to the member of the committee, please. Thank you.
So my name is Kathleen Poirier. I am the architect for the Carver Center. I actually have a little bit of a PowerPoint. If you want to see it, I could share my screen if I'm allowed to. Is that possible? Can I do that? I see my little button. Let me see if I
can.
See
if you can share it. I think you can share it. If not, there we go.
Oh, can you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So the project goals that we have are the addition of an elevator, improve the front entry to the building, The elevator is going to give second floor access for ADA compliance, and improving the entry as well is as a code related aspect. For one, we're trying to get better visual for entry and access to the building, to be able to have a receptionist right up front, and as well, it currently the exit egress stair is also part of the entry, and that this new entrance will separate that. Then on the back of the building, we want to put the addition of a teen center. There used to be a small space in the Carver, which kind of qualified as a teen area, but it got replaced with the technology center, which was desperately needed as well. This is going to be a good spot for the teens because it's going to be right off the gymnasium where they frequently use the building. And we want to establish on a grander scale a new architecture for the building itself, and improve other aspects of the building interior that will bring it more up to date. You know, as Alan said, it's a 1970s building. We want to do things like improve, you know, the bathrooms, make them ADA compliant, make them so that you don't have to touch the faucets again for our COVID era. So we've got a lot of things on the agenda, but the two that are in conflict with the building footprint are the additions, the addition on the front and the back. So currently the building resides in this green odd shaped lot, and as Alan said, the town of Norwalk owns the lot and Carver Center owns the building. This is an illustration of the purple is the building footprint that exists today with the eaves overhang out to the dash line. These are the two additions that we're proposing. They're quite small actually, and they don't, you know, they're definitely going to improve the look of the building in the end. Right now the entrance, you know, basically does jut out, and we're only going out a wee bit more than it already does. This is just another illustration showing a different in a different way. And these are the floor plans with showing a little bit more detail. So first floor, second floor. And then this is a visual of the front of the building as it exists today. These black lines are illustrating where the entry addition is going to be. This is an illustration of the hopefully a finished product if we do receive the variance. This is the addition that's going to require the variance. That's another view of it. And the back addition, this is currently the back of the building right now. And this is the addition should we be able to acquire the variance.
Thank you.
So that's the gist of it.
Great, thank you. Nava, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you know, a lot of individuals or a lot of towns may put up a teen center that's a building by itself, and you may not have kids who go to it. The fact that this is going to be adjacent to the gymnasium will make sure that we provide a safe space for kids. We have a teen center manager there. And as Kathy talked about, this is you know, with COVID, the current entrance, you know, the folks who are coming in is bumping to the folks who are going out. So it's a code violation. So that's why the new entrance is necessary. And the fact that we have the funding, we got bonding to do all the renovations. And we did get funding to add the 2-story teen center. And so, you know, the fact that there's like different lots and Carver owns one and Norwalk owns some of the other ones, it's a matter of, you know, putting them all together and making this project work. So we hope that this will be approved.
Great, thank you. Any member of the committee have any questions or comments? Mr. Hildeman?
Just a quick question. Is this a setback issue? Is that why you need the
No.
variance?
It's not a setback issue, actually, and that was the irony is that I had been discussing it with the zoning department from the beginning, and they were very clear to me to make sure I stay within the setbacks, and I did. But what we didn't have on the initial survey was that the coverage chart that the surveyor usually provides us with that information, and once that was brought into the picture, we realized that the existing building coverage, the footprint on the existing lot is technically larger than allowed in this residential district that it resides in. You know, it's a certain percentage of the property that the building's allowed to be. And
Okay.
so we are, again, adding to it, so we're enlarging that footprint. So we will be requesting a variance for coverage, building coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burnett?
Yes, thank you. So my question is, have we shared these additions with the neighboring residents, the neighbors, just to ensure that there's no issue as it relates to the overall community and everyone's supportive of this?
Well, when and if we can move forward to the variance process, that's generally when we do begin that introduction. I do know for a fact, though, that most of the neighboring properties aren't, you know, to the one side, it is all parkland all the way to the corner, which Carver takes care of, you know, it's a basketball court. So all those properties are either in possession of Carver or the city of Norwalk itself. Behind the property is the gas company owns that property. And in general, I don't think they'd have a problem with it. There is a residential home to the opposite side, the one that's opposite the parking lot. And across the street is the back of some kind of factory building. I don't know what it is. But so the only people who might object would be the residents, but you know, of course we would talk to them. And I think, you know, in general, it's going to improve the look of the building. So hopefully that would influence them to be more excited about it. But
And this project isn't encroaching on their property at all?
no,
Right.
the parking lot is between the building and
Right, right. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Ayers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Burnett had my question about speaking to the neighbors who are in very close proximity to the building, in the back of the building, as well to your
Could you say that again?
left-hand side, I believe. But you did say that you will make them a part of your discussions going forward. Alan, my second question is, because the city does own the land, we have I know Navalette said that they are bonding for the project, but will the city have any financial costs anyway in this process?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any opposed? I think it's unanimous. All right, unanimous. Thank you very much.
And this
Thank
this
you.
item will be placed on the common council agenda for next Tuesday night. Oh, not next Tuesday, the week after, right?
A week from next week.
Next week, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Great. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item. Review terms for an amendment to the financial assistance agreement with Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum and refer the following to the council for approval. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the financial assistance agreement with Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum for the implementation of the infrastructure improvements project at the museum. Terms of the amendment shall be as outlined in Alan Lowe's memo dated April 27, 2022. Do I have a motion? Let's see, Mr. Keegan, thank you. And who is going to speak to this tonight? I see we have a
I'll start out.
distinguished guest here.
Hi. This is came about through the suggestion from the state to put the two amounts of money that we have for this project, the $13.5 million, $8 from the state and $5.5 from the city, that in order to expedite payment and make things smoother, that we set up a schedule of release of funds from the city and from the state on a percentage basis for the project. So that is what is in front of you. And we our owner's rep, Robert Cavello, is with us also to explain, and Doug Hempstead, the new chairman of the mansion, is also here. So if anybody has a question, we're happy to.
I had one question, Patsy, in terms of, whose money goes first, the states or the cities? How does that work?
No, it's going to be probably the first will come from the state. I'm not sure. I don't want to. Alan, do you have that lined up?
Yeah, just
I'm not sure.
let me just I think first of all, I think the state allocated $5 million to this project back a few years ago, and then subsequent to that, the city allocated $2.5 million. Recently, with understanding there's a long-term plan of development and improvement to the Lockwood Matthews Mansion. That's a multi-million-dollar project, and after these money's allocated, there's discussion about it's really not sufficient to start the project because they couldn't do bits of the construction and then repair it and do it again. It's like 5 years from now. So it's essential that everything get done together. So from that discussion, the state and the city combined. Recently, the Common Council approved $3 million. The state allocated an additional $3 million. So altogether, $6 million more. So the total project cost at this point is $13.5 million. Initially, when the state approved the money, the city contributed $2.5 million. We were supplementing the state money. So the state money come first and the city come afterward, the $2.5 million. But with this new arrangement, we becomes like a funding partner. So it's really sharing the cost of the project. So the proposal in front of you is that the city money will actually come first in a sense, because the problem is that the state getting reimbursement as we spend money, it takes time. And it's essential that we maintain consistency and timing in terms of making payment to contractors to make sure the project move forward smoothly. So what I came up with a proposal is that the city actually upfront the money. I developed a funding schedule for disbursement of money to them based on percentages. And the money will go to Lockwood Matthews Mansion in their account, and they can make payment using that money to the consultants or contractors or whatever. And concurrently, every month they would submit a request to the state for reimbursement. So we will upfront the flow money because it's essential that they move the project moves smoothly. And then meanwhile, they will ask for monthly reimbursement from the state, and the money will go back to the account. And that's how we maintain the cash flow for the project. As they reach certain percentage, they come back to us and then request another release, and then we forward that money to it. And I'm the one responsible for monitoring the expenditure. So this way, I have conversation with Henry already, Dekowitz, and also I think with Leisha, and we kind of describe this process to look at this process. We also we sent it to the controller also. So we want to make sure that accounting wise, it all works out with the city side.
Great, thank you. Ms. Smith.
Alan, also, and because you asked about the drawdown proportionally, and correct me if I don't have it right, but it's not like we take all the city money first and then go back to the state.
No.
It's like not quite 60-40, state 60%, cities 40%. It was basically put together and treating us like we are a city-owned building and drawing down like getting city-owned project. So in answer to your question, as we pay off bills from the city money, we're putting in application for the 60% the state would owe us on that portion of that bill. It's just trying to keep things going because they can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days to turn around a payment on a good day. All right, Patsy?
Yes.
Okay,
And,
right.
so far, we have not drawn any money from the 2.5 million for the city. And we have drawn down approximately 750,000 from the state to date. We expect to go out to bid July and August and start construction in early January. So that's the broad view of our scheduling.
Great, thank you. Ms. Smith, you had a question.
Yeah, I have a question about the project itself. I know that this is, infrastructure and code, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. And forgive me if I'm a little bit, not up to date, but will this mean that the second floor of the mansion will be available to the public? That was my last time I was in the mansion. It's been a while, certainly a bit before COVID. That was an issue. So I'm just wondering if that's going to allow access to the second floor.
Yeah, yes, that will be a big piece of it because there is no electricity on the second floor. We use flashlights and we can have, under fire code, we can have a minimum amount of people. But the other big piece is that with the new heating system, we will be able to be open year round. We close because historically the heat just wasn't adequate. Some days it was fine and other days you'd freeze. So historically the museum has closed January to early April, and that will not have to happen anymore. So that's huge.
Terrific.
And the state was insistent, like they wouldn't release one dime without the fire protection in the building, the sprinkler system. So they were adamant that's going to have to happen before anything else is going to get funded. So that's part of the whole package.
It's a costly part. It's
Yeah, it's the most-
complicated because everything has to be put in the floors, the system. So we'll be taking up floors, which is why we have to vacate the building during construction.
Well, it's certainly, one of the gems of the city and well worth the investment. So thanks.
We appreciate your support.
Thank you. Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you. I'm curious, is this financial or agreement schedule fixed throughout the length of the project? And I asked that question looking ahead, if we get towards, let's say we're 3/4 of the way completed the project work, and we realize that the project may not cost the full, whatever, let's say $13 million, that there might be the potential of having some of the city's commitment returned back to the capital budget, and we finish the project with state money. Is that a possibility to kind of relook at this as we come close to completing the project, or is this fixed and set till the very completion of the project?
I'm going to cut in for Patsy or Doug a little bit. I mean, I think they could spend an awful lot more than that 13 million, but I'll let them answer that.
If that was a problem, I would be very happy.
Well, I asked the question because I asked the question because if I recall, if my memory serves me right, when we approved the initial city allocation, I believe it was presented that we would use the state money first and then the city money. And if there was any, and if we had any, if it didn't cost the full amount, there would be possible return to the city coffers. So I'm asking that question again here.
When we're going to draft this, between me and the law department, when we draft this agreement, the detail of it is that any residual funding, if the project is right now is looking at, again, the total fund is $13.5 million, 700 some thousand is spent already, and remaining at the end of the city would have roughly 40% of it. That if every dollar that's left, the city would be getting $40 back. 40 cents back.
The rest. Yeah, but in addition to that, the base project, and then there are 4 to 5 alternates. which are really very important to the museum's future and growth. And I think that any extra money would be certainly used up in alternates. So it's a good question. I think we answered it, but to expect that that's going to happen is, I would be amazed that there'll be anything left.
Agree.
Mr. Holdeman?
Thank you, Chairman Livingston. I guess my question is sort of on the heels of that. Just that with the rise in construction costs, the rise in costs right now, is this 13.5 realistic to get the basics done that you're looking to get done? The fire suppression, the electric, the heating system.
IT. Our consultants indicate yes, but nobody knows how much the inflation is going to go up and how much costs are. So obviously we can't control that. So everybody's nervous.
I'm just saying, for what I do for a living and still part-time now, most contractors won't even hold prices anymore more than 2 weeks. And that's what we're up against. So the best estimates that the construction company and Robert put together on trying to get a budget, we're on the tip of what we got allocated, but until they actually physically go out to get bids from contractors, we don't know. Right now, you can't, it's hard getting black iron pipe to put the sprinkler system in. There's a shortage out there, so.
And that's why we're pushing. We're meeting with the state. We have a job meeting every Monday at 1 o'clock with a full team of consultants, and we're all pushing as fast as we can because we realize time is money here. So the sooner we can get out to bid and get a commitment, we feel there's savings. So that's part of the importance of keeping the cash flow going and keeping our consultants paid so that they can continue the work.
And I can vouch, if those who worked with me knew how tight I was with a buck. I pale in comparison to Patsy.
Tighter than he is.
Hard to believe, but.
It's
That's
true.
good to know. Good to know.
Mr.
It's
Cavallo?
true.
Yeah, just to further extend what we're saying about the budget, we have obviously factored into our budgeting inflation. We also want to try to hedge our inflation factor by as soon, and this was important about the pay, the first disbursement that Alan had described, is that once we are in a position to sign off on the GMP, we want to immediately procure some of the expensive equipment, the HVAC, and start that process, even though we're not ready to start the construction, say in November of this year. It's allowing us some time to go into shop drawings, fix the price for some of that major equipment for the project. So we are trying our best to factor in ways of saving dollars and hedge on the inflation. And of course, it factored in our budget inflation through the end of the year.
Thank you. Any other questions and discussion? I just want to say that, I as a member of the Historical Commission, I got got to see the presentation on this project, and it's really quite remarkable, particularly the alternates, which I hope they can do. It's such a necessary project for such an important building in the city, and I really wish you the best of luck in getting as much done as you can, because I think you're going to find, with expenses, they're going to keep going up, but it's really.
Yeah, we're nervous. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can, if anybody wants to see that presentation, we can send part of it to all of you from our architect.
Just let me know or let Alan know, and we'll get it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as part of the current agreement between the city and like Memphis mentioned, the museum should bring the project to the committee for a general speaking, not technically or legally, but just for the committee to be aware of what the scope of the project is in a little more detail. So it's part of the understanding between the parties.
Okay.
And better yet, Tom, why don't you bring the committee over and have a meeting there?
Well, we've done that. And
We've
we can
done
come
that,
over,
yeah.
we can actually come
Yeah.
over with sledgehammers, Doug, and help.
There's one
No
wall
sledgehammers. No
in the
sledgehammers.
basement. There's one wall in the basement that will happen.
Yeah.
So-
All right, I will now call for a vote. All in
We'll
favor?
give you all a whack.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is unanimous. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We
Thank you for
really
your time.
appreciate it.
And it'll be
Okay.
on Common
Thank you
Council agenda
for all
next
your
Tuesday night.
support.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing more about it.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
so
Thank you, Dave.
Have a good night, everyone.
night.
All right, let's move on to school projects. And Jim, I guess the school construction projects update. Are you doing that tonight?
Yes, I am. Along with, we have Mike Fienza and Dan Phillips, the two project managers for two of the projects that are moving, that are underway now. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Fienza to give an update on the Jefferson Elementary School.
Good evening, everyone. At the Jefferson project, the work is basically in full swing with finishes and putting a lot of final touches on the site work. If you've seen the property driving by, the picture to the right is actually the staff park or the visitor parking lot, I'm sorry. And it's been fully paved and the landscaping is going in at this time. Excuse me. So the trees have been installed and all the site lighting has been installed. The contractor's begun taking down portions of the fence as areas of the site become completed. And on the interior of the building, which is the photo to the left, this is a photo of the art room. You know, the ceiling tiles are going in, the flooring is installed in basically all of the classrooms at this point. The millwork has been installed and the contractors are installing finishing touches on the millwork, such as the sinks, tiles going in the bathrooms. The cafeteria is being finalized. All of the kitchen equipment was delivered this past week, and the tile for the kitchen and servery area has been installed. You know, and then with regards to upcoming activities for the project, I've been reaching out to all of the furniture vendors to get all of their deliveries scheduled. We received confirmation from the largest one, which is WB Mason, which that furniture you guys had previously approved will be starting on June 22nd, and they have about 3 weeks of delivery to get all of the furniture put in place for the project.
Very good.
And we're looking to schedule a construction walkthrough for May 18th, I think it is. So
Yes.
I will issue an invitation notice.
Haven't
to
you
everybody.
already? Alan, I think you did already, didn't you?
I did already? No, not the full council. No, I don't
Oh,
think so.
okay.
No. So, and then the Board of Ed is, we're scheduling a Board of Ed also. I think it's at 11 o'clock, which is a daytime kind of thing, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll go for the all member council and the Board of Ed.
That's correct, 11 a.m.
All right, thanks, Mike. We are on schedule, as Mike said, and we're expecting furniture deliveries for mid-June. And Mike, you're up again.
Actually, before you go on, you go back to that last slide. I see a free balance of 3.3 million. Is that really?
I was going to skip that slide really quick so you don't see that number. It is,
Well, that's nice.
but I didn't want to tell you.
That's good to see. I like that.
Sorry, Alan, I didn't go through it quick enough.
Yeah. No, there is. It's that is really a real number. So I know we got change order and stuff to deal with, but it's still very much true.
That's great.
It also highlights, Tom and the rest of the committee, the swing that we've seen in the construction industry. This project was bid in 21, I think February of 21, if I'm not mistaken. And we bid, Cranberry roughly a year later, as well as, CSG is involved in some other projects. And there's a big swing in the construction costs now.
I think when we bid this, the construction industry is slow because of COVID. But now, but recently they come out of the general speaking, come out of COVID, and also the whole supply chain concerns and whatever kind of thing. the market is very, very, very different. So.
Right, this was
Yeah.
right at the end of, the nervousness of the contractors worrying about future work. So we got this right at the tail end, right at a good time. And, since then, it's just been, as you heard previously, it's just been kind of unpredictable.
Well, for whatever reason, coming in on time and 10% under budget is great.
Yes. Yes. All right, Mike, Cranberry.
Yep. So for the Cranberry project, the GMP amendment for the project was approved last month at the April meeting of the Common Council. We actually received copies of the construction manager received copies of the contract this week from the city legal department, and I believe they're reviewing and signing that. At this point, the contractor is also the same contractor at Jefferson will be mobilizing the site, and one of the first activities on site will be installing the construction fencing around the perimeter of the construction area, and that's currently scheduled for May 16th.
Okay, very good.
And we have a regular meeting, weekly meeting on that project right now. So.
Yeah, and to add to Alan's regular comment about the regular meetings, the construction management company is in full swing, similar to what the folks from the Lockwood Matthews Mansion had spoken about. And we've begun putting submittals through for all of the long lead equipment items, steel, the piping like they had mentioned, and that stuff's moving through the process. And we're trying to get as much of the material approved and ordered as quickly as we can.
All right, thanks, Mike. Naramick, we are done. I'm sorry, I forgot to remove this, but the project is done. There are a few loose ends that are being tied up, and then we'll be ready to close out the project with the state. Since it's $3.5 million, it's a desk audit. Hopefully we can get that done sooner than a normal project. And I'll be working with Nina when she gets back to get that paperwork submitted to the state so we can start the closeout process. Norwalk High School, Dan Phillips, our project manager for Norwalk High School. Dan, you want to give the update, please?
Yeah, good evening. I'll start by saying I just came from the dentist, so my mouth is a little numb, so I apologize if I'm hard to understand or I slur my speech. But we'll jump into the update. As you know, over the last couple of months, we've been talking about option A and option B for the Norwalk High School. Early April, option B was approved by the land use group. And after that approval, we moved right into the schematic design with our architect. With this process, the schematic design phase is going to run through the beginning of July. Part of this effort, now that we know where the building is going, they're going to complete some existing condition surveys as well as some geotech borings over the next 2 months to get the information they need to complete the design. As we move forward with the design, we're also setting up a number of meetings with the different groups at Norwalk High School. Sandra is helping us coordinate those. What we're trying to do here is review the design as it's developed and receive their feedback before we get too far along. Some of the groups we have listed here is the science, general classrooms, special education, administration, career and counseling, media, visual, performing arts, as well as music. Also, as you know, with option B, one of the largest impacts was the athletics programs. So we have ongoing meetings with Doug Marchetti, the athletics director, as well as the recreation and parks department to coordinate the existing sports and make sure that what we're designing to with the new facilities, we're meeting all of the requirements and improving what we have from today. In addition to that, we just had a meeting earlier this month, talked to planning and zoning, introduced them to the project, show them the current layout so they're familiar with the plans, and we're planning to set up a meeting this month with building, the police and fire departments. And this is an effort to get them familiar with the job, any of their feedback and concerns incorporated in the design early, so that we don't have any issues with those permit approvals when we come to that point.
And early this week, I think it was Monday, today's what, Wednesday, right? Monday, I went to a Narrowmix school, a school governance council meeting to show them the project. There's some question that came up. And one thing we need to work with the Board of Ed to do is to make sure that how we communicate and continue to provide information to the neighbors in the neighborhood. It's more than King Street. King Street neighborhood is the one that's been in the past for this project. Is have various concern that we address and work with them to reach compromise about bus driveway opening onto King Street and stuff. At the same time, there's more than we have more than just the King Street neighbors. We have County Street as well as Strawberry Hill. So I will continue to work with Board of Ed to develop a methodology to continue to provide them with information update. I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet, but I think we will set that up somehow, whether either with the school website or I think that occasionally I would get a call and we make a point to respond to anybody that asks for information about this project. So it's not a simple thing. We just say, we like meet with the neighbors, like how do you meet with them kind of thing. So we do need to, it is a significant project for the city of Norwalk, and it is a big building that's impact the neighborhood. So I mean, we are changing the driveway opening, and we're looking at many different ways to improve the intersection and traffic flow and direction of flow and everything else. So there are a lot of thoughts behind the scene. We meet once a week to evaluate all these things that we are discussing. I think tonight we're going to talk about Norwalk High School, a little bit of energy stuff. It's a follow-up to the last month.
Alan, before you get to that, Ms. Ayers and Mr. Hillman have questions. So Ms. Ayers.
Thank you, Chair Livingston. My question was, as you are developing the architectural designs, how much of the building is going to be a green building or green, using green building materials, and how much of the building is going to have elements in there to bring in natural light and promote like a learning environment. The current building that we have right now is very boxy and very cold, and there's many areas that natural light does not come into the building. How are those problems going to be rectified in this architectural plan?
I think this is a long answer to your question. I think what we'll do is maybe next month we will go into a little more detail of the plans. The way this is designed, there's two portions of the building. It's a 3-story, and one portion of the building is 3-story. One portion of the building is 4 stories. The reason why they are narrow and linear kind of thing is because we want to have maximum exterior exposures. So for all the classrooms, they would not be interior classrooms. So I think we can go through this when we look at detail on the floor plans and layout and things. So it probably takes about, I would say, maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes to go through the whole layout, explain all the intricacy in terms of design and relationship between the spaces and stuff. In the larger space, which is gym and stuff like that, those doesn't have that much room, but we do provide clear story space, glass or windows and things like that. So I think let's just plan for a presentation to you for the next month's meeting to go into all that in detail because it's very interesting. It's the building is meets and exceeds the state code for high performance building, and there's also requirement for what's the term, Jim? Indoor.
Well, we're required to provide natural light in all areas. So the design, has to be able to accommodate that, as Alan was saying. But the building also has to meet the equivalency of LEED silver through the high performance building standards. So yes, there are elements of green building technology that will be implemented into the building.
Can I just say, and thank you for that, but as a follow-up, my now fourth grader will be going into this high school. And so as a parent, I'm extremely interested. I know the conversation has gone 8,000 different ways, but I'm extremely interested on physically how this building is going to look and what it's going to look like on the inside, because my child has to be in this building. So I will hold all of my additional questions. I guess you said until next month, but I will be taking a particular eye to making sure that this is an aesthetically pleasing building and a place of learning for children. We are in a unique opportunity here in Norwalk to have this building, and I think we should take full advantage of it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Mr. Holdeman.
Thank you, Chairman Livingston. Hey, I don't know if this is Alan, if it's Dan, or if it's Jim, but since we've made this switch to the B up the hill, so to speak, are we looking at any zoning variances that we're going to need for that?
We are continuing to look at all those requirements in terms of setbacks and everything else. So we are looking at all those items. Yes. It's a very unique situation because the zoning regulation for school, schools are done under the zoning regulation as a special permitted use, but it still follows all the residential neighborhood guidelines. So it's very complex. Nobody builds school except the city, generally speaking. I mean, there's not too many private schools that are being built, you know, in the city kind of thing. But at the same time, it's I mean, I think that those are the challenges we have, similar to Cranberry, as we all know, that we have to build a school. And you know, I mean, who builds 60,000 square feet in a AAA residence neighborhood? Nobody except the city. But the regulation is such that zoning regulation is such that it becomes a hardship to what we have to do in the community. So we are looking at all those concerns. The parking is like parking, the number of parking spaces required. I think that's something we need to address as well, because it's like we know based on history and usage a certain number that we need. So those, and then physically the site just has a limitation. So right now we're providing 428 spaces, and we're looking to go up to about 450 spaces. But the zoning regulation is very different. So those are things we need to address, and we are addressing. So we actually have looking at legally how we manage that.
So if I understand correctly, in June, we're going to be able to see some actual architectural drawings of this.
Yes.
Okay, great.
We have presented some of this as part of option B. We have presented it, but hearing the high level of interest on detail, of course, we'll bring it in next month and get a little more detail. So, but just we prepare. Will probably take us about 40 to 45 minutes to really get into it, and also we probably we have a third discussion on energy related design for this project.
Great, thank you, Alan.
Sure.
Mr. Kagan. You're muted, Tom.
Tom, you're muted.
What else is new, right? I just want to show there's two different price tags on this slide for the project. On the bottom, it says 189. In the narrative, it says 25.
It's 225, Tom. I'm sorry, I did not adjust that number.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Burnett.
Thank you. And so staying on the topic of numbers, have we received any update in terms of the additional funding needed to get to the 225?
It will be end of tonight. I'm sorry, I don't mean that sounded rude, didn't I?
Yes, it did. Right, you rather sharp, Mr. Lowe.
And unnecessary. The state is reviewing the request tonight. I think the final approval of the state special legislation is being approved tonight. So we will know by tomorrow morning.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate your response, Mr. Lowe.
As good as I was.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Smith.
Yeah, thank you. Gosh, I hope we wake up to good news tomorrow morning. I just wanted to add a couple comments, just speaking to Ms. Ayer's questions. Because of having sat on the NHS Building Committee and seeing the plans for option A, that committee hasn't met in quite some time. So, but there were some things that I thought I could share, which is that there was a great deal of focus in those original drawings to include light, natural light throughout the building. Some of it was really quite impressive, in fact. And then the other thing is the educational programming that is like designed into the actual architecture of the building, I thought was pretty impressive too. This is an entirely different building now, so we don't know what to expect. But I did just want to comment that those were a lot of considerations that had already been taken.
Yeah, Barbara, since you brought this up, I want to bring this to attention to the committee. I know Diane is probably still on listening to this meeting. Building Advisory Committee, we set up for projects, for school projects, but Building Advisory Committee has no powers, right? So we get together with teachers and principals and potentially parents and potentially sometimes even neighbors involved, kind of thing. It has no authority. So everything is being approved by the land use committee and the common council, depending what level. I mean, again, land users have power to approve things, but in terms of understanding concept of design and stuff like that, it comes to the committee. So it doesn't go through common council to decide whether the bathroom should be over here versus over there, kind of thing, right? So there's all different level of better approval. But the advisory committee is really for information purposes. So that the board members and the parent groups and stuff can bring this kind of latest information back to the committee, and we listen to suggestions and comments from them. Ultimately, the land use committee and the common council is the approval body. Even the board of education, we similar to the option B that went to the board of education. They provide recommendation to the land use committee, who is the school building committee recognized under the city ordinance and as well by the state. That is the process. So with smaller projects, it's like narrow mixed school, we really don't set up a building advisory committee. It's not much to talk about. We're building a kitchen and then work with the principals, and we maybe one parents just so they have understanding what we're doing, kind of thing. Other than that, there's really not too much involvement. And different school, different level, and different interests. Anytime the parent association wants to meet with me and the design team, we always attend night meetings and we do presentation to them. But it's not like a day-to-day kind of regular thing. But because this is a substantial project, I think I need to focus this a little bit more, and because it's such an impact on not a bad way, not a positive impact in education, high school education for the city. I think we will take a greater step with updating the facility committee of Board of Education as well as the land use and building management committee. So when Ms. Ayers talks about the design, interior design and things like that, my first reaction is that what, we need to do more in terms of bringing it to the committee for understanding and discussion, because a lot of times for smaller project, a lot of it is handled by staff, by myself and the design team, and we bring it to the committee occasionally. And generally speaking, the committee and the city has been very supportive of all these ideas that come through. But at the same time, this is a substantial project. I think a greater involvement is always a good thing. So I just want to say what I have to say.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, education has changed so much. And I think, knowing that building, and Nicole, that building really well, it is not meant for an education that our kids need now and certainly in the future. It's for like 1950s, and so the focus of the architects and they're working with the teachers and asking the teachers for feedback and the administrators, and just knowing what the future of education is built into the architecture of the school, and that's really good to know.
Thank you.
The art school for the future.
Yeah. And it won't be designed based on a prison, right? Or prison design. Yeah. Okay, let's keep moving unless any more comments
Okay.
on this.
Quickly, we just have a quick update on South Norwalk. I know, Dan, you've been working on compiling some information. Did I lose Dan?
Nope, I was on mute for a moment there. I'm back. So our focus right now is putting together all of the backup documentation we need for the grant application. Last month, we had Common Council's approval for the grant application resolutions. That's something that we needed to get behind us to include in that package. And right now, we're probably about 50 to 60% through that backup and are on target for submitting that by June 30th of this year. Also, just a little more going on with that project. There's the property has been submitted to the state and they've reviewed it with no outstanding comments as of this point. And a phase 1 environmental review has been completed. We're currently conducting a phase 2 environmental study. And I know the city is nearing final terms for the land acquisition. And I think Alan could talk a little bit more about where we're at with that purchase.
Yeah, just for everybody's information, at the request of the property owner, we are still keeping full confidentiality. But we are anticipating that we'll be coming to the Common Council very soon, sometime in June. And I think I would be requesting a special meeting of the Common Council to review all of the contracts for approval. So it'd be early June that I'd be requesting a special meeting. And also we are requesting we are looking for a special appropriation. We have $72 million approved. Originally, we have on the 2 old projects, we were capturing about $76 million. We did a special appropriation for $72 million, but based on the reason, it's not an excuse. I mean, there's so much documentation out there about construction cost increases and stuff like that, and also our purchase of the property. I'm making a request to the Board of Estimate for the special appropriation process for an additional $4 million, which is the total amount that was recaptured from the other 2 projects. So I'm expected to go to BET next week, and then the special appropriation will go through to the Planning Commission about the same time that I'll be coming to the Common Council for the final approval of the special appropriation and the land purchase.
Mr. Burnett?
Yes. As it relates to the dollars, if we go back a few slides to Jefferson, you said there's, under budget by $3 million. When could we, no, you don't have to move the slides. When can we realize that savings in real dollars? And I'm just trying to see if there's any alignment between the $4 million addition needed for South Norwalk and the $3 million surplus from the Jefferson School project. Is there any alignment there?
Generally speaking, you would know if by September this year, we or the project team will tell you within $50,000 where we are.
So by September of this year, we'll be able to have a good idea if we're asking for additional four for South Norwalk, but we might have, let's say, 2.5-3 million from Jefferson. Right. So the net to the city would be somewhere in the range of maybe $1 million, $1.5 million. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, anything else in the schools?
I do not have a follow-up question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, it might just be my own naivete. So when we have budgeted for the different projects, the money that is allocated is not necessarily spent. So it's sitting in an account somewhere, and as the bill or whatever comes in, then that money is allocated. So as my colleague, Councilman Burnett said, with the surplus of Jefferson, that money is just sitting in the account. Am I understanding that correctly?
Let me explain this.
And it might be my own naivete, and I
No, it's
apologize.
fine, right? No.
It's
got
a
little-
complicated process. So.
Yeah, what happened is the old Columbus School. We have Columbus School. The original plan was moved that to Ely site, right? And then the other ones renovate existing building. There was $76 million left.
No. I got that. That's not my
Okay.
question. I got that. We all do with that. My question is, in general, for any project, when you have a surplus, like the Jefferson School has a surplus,
Right, it sits there.
is that money has been allocated through the capital budget, so it is in a line item somewhere. It's sitting in an account somewhere.
Yes.
So when we have a surplus, does that money, because the money hasn't gone out that account, does that money just roll back into the wallet, or what happens to that money? That's what I'm not understanding.
Yeah. So the capital budget account, any residual money stays in an account. So it takes the finance department board of ed to close out board estimate to close out the account. So the money has not been bonded yet. So it really is a city allocated, let's say this year for capital budget, $23 million. So the finance department go out and bond a certain amount that we need for expenditures. So even though that's a lot, there's a money in the budget, it's not really bonded money at that point. So generally speaking, it reduces the city's debt. At some point, the money get captured back into the capital it just reduced, it just get eliminated. So the money sits in the account until somebody takes an action, which
Alan, just to be clear, it's not like $3 million in cash is sitting in the account, right?
It's not $3 million cash in the account.
It's an
allocation. It's an allocation.
Right.
So it's an allocation. So my question is, since we're under what the original allocation is, and it hasn't been bonded, so we necessarily did not spend it, that's just rolled over back into the capital account and we bond for less?
Right.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure I'm following. Thank you.
Good, okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Jim, Dan, and everybody else. Let's go on to the next item then, which is related to, which is the discussion regarding building sustainability design and alternative energy options for the proposed new Norwalk High School.
Oh yeah, we have Adam. Adam was here last month, and last time we met and talked about energy related green building, energy conservation measures and stuff like that. I think there's a little bit of a continuation of that conversation. I believe me and Adam, we haven't really talked about it too much, but I believe we are looking to provide recommendation at next month's meeting. But at the same time, I think Adam is here tonight, just go following last month's conversation, because the committee has expressed an interest of a little bit of a continued dialogue on what we do and how we do and kind of thing a little bit. So I think maybe for the next 5, the most 10 minutes, maybe we want to talk about it a little bit. But I don't think we have any, I don't know what Adam has. Me and him hasn't really talked about it, but go ahead, Adam.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Thank you for your time. Adam Dukey from Van Zelm Engineers. I'm the MEP consultant for the project, working with Castle Booth Associates, who is the architect for New Norwalk High School. I want to provide an update just as to be a little more transparent about our process and to how we're arriving at the options that we're arriving at. As we've kind of discussed over and over, as you guys discussed, there's a level of coordination that we need to meet here to make sure that we're balancing the educational program as well as the budget, and then sustainability options. So we're all operating on a realistic plane. So as part of the design coordination for this, Van Zelm went through investigating several options related to the base building systems, as well as ways we can apply energy conservation and alternative energy options as they would apply to those systems. And there's a few different things that we had looked at potentially as just guidelines to get us there. One of the main ones that we started with in reality was programming space. One thing I will say about KBA is it's a passion of theirs to make sure that they're maximizing on the educational experience. It's something that, Ms. Ayers, you had mentioned, your child's gonna be going to school at the school. KBA on their team, they have several people working on this project that did attend this school. So I think they know they can relate to your concerns about the old building versus this new building that's being built, where they take an exorbitant amount of passion to put into the educational program of this space. From an engineering standpoint, that can be challenging to follow, but we do take that into account and try to maximize the programming space while limiting the floor space that we need for our mechanical space, as well as above the ceiling, to try and maximize the amount of ceiling space that's available. So programming space is probably the key number one. The second one being feasibility. You know, we want to make sure that this is a system that is not overly complex, that can be built and is realistic. On top of that, simplistic control and maintenance. This building needs to be maintained. This building needs to be easily controlled and operable. While we can get into a more complex system, the cost benefit to that is not always realistic. And then finally, I think we probably beat this to like a dead horse is budget. You know, there's always budget constraints on any project, but knowing all of these items full well, we looked at the base system a lot more forward thinking to try and make sure that we stepped our first foot forward on what system can accommodate pretty much all of these options right off the get-go, and then tap into our sustainability and alternative energy options. And obviously part of this is, you know, we are required to build to the high performance school standards, which is going to put us at a baseline for energy efficiency. As a firm, we always try to develop systems that are going to exceed those requirements, which is what we were doing here. So your typical base systems, you would consider your typical VAV systems and whatnot. What we considered a feasible option for this building, and what we've been developing as part of the SD package for both the option A and now option B, is utilizing a VRF system with an energy recovery ventilator for our main systems. Now, what that does is it puts those types of systems require no mechanical space inside the building. What that does is provide all the heating and cooling to each of the spaces through the use of the VRF system, energy recovery system.
Adam, excuse me a second. You're using terms that I'm not sure people understand.
Yes, I'm sorry. VRF is variable refrigerant flow. In other words,
yeah, I'm not
think
sure
of it
that
like
helps.
your air conditioner. Air conditioner in your house, right? Essentially what that's doing is an all-electric system that can provide cooling to your house, but this system provides simultaneous heating and cooling through heat recovery of that system. It's all part of it. It's an all-electric system. What that means is that system, it maximizes efficiency and reduces the energy required to serve the space while providing you the best possible controllability of that space as well. So when you have a system that can provide both heating and cooling, you don't need ancillary systems like baseboard radiation, electric heat along the perimeter, those types of things. What that also does is those types of systems allow us to put small equipment on the roof and require very little ceiling space above the ceiling. So going forward with that thought, that allows us to maximize our program space within the building and require very little to no mechanical space that's going to take up that program space. Talk about that VRF system like we were talking about. That system itself has a heat recovery option, which allows you to simultaneously heat and cool in the building using the same system. Where you also, for the pool system, while we dehumidify the air within the pool, that dehumidification process produces heat energy. That heat energy we intend to use to provide the heat maintenance to the pool water itself. So that system in and of itself is not only energy efficient, but it is also reusing that energy to heat the pool as an energy efficient and sustainable option. What this comes down to, and then and then larger spaces will be using smaller, high efficient rooftop systems for like the auditorium, the gym, the big spaces that have a lot of people, big rooms, but are essentially a single zone. But what that does is it puts a big emphasis on the electric side of the building, but also, like we talked about again, it removes the mechanical room component. What that also does is limit us to what we can do for alternative energy solutions, which a lot of that gets thrown around. Case in point, one of those being something called geothermal, where you would dig wells into the ground and utilize those wells to store cooling and heating energy to support your mechanical equipment in the building. Because of this type of system, geothermal is no longer a viable solution. So that's not considered part of this. So we start to take the systems as a base and look at how can we apply these alternative energy solutions. And, you know, I'd like to speak to something Diane had mentioned earlier about the presentation we made last month. Sometimes we come off a little bit too budget concerned, and I do apologize if it came off that way, because we are looking at every option possible here to make sure we're providing the school with something that's feasible, but also sustainable and energy efficient. And that does include analyzing the use of photovoltaic on this building. We will be providing a cost benefit analysis for conceptual design of not only the what kind of solar we can put on this building itself, but I know Alan also spoke about the desire to look at what we could utilize for a structure mounted photovoltaic within the parking areas. That option alone is one of the biggest ones we're going to be looking at.
So Adam,
another thing we're looking at too, another option is in lieu of large tank style gas fired heaters, utilizing smaller electric heaters spread throughout the building. The more electric systems you have, the more effective photovoltaic system will have on that system.
Adam, excuse me a second. I think it
Yeah.
might be helpful for the committee, maybe when you come back next month, to sort of lay out, what you've looked at. I mean, you say geothermal doesn't work. I think maybe if you look at that, explain that a little more about that option, talk about photovoltaic and other options.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So next month, when we have our presentation, we're going to do a brief overview of the potential systems and kind of explain what they mean, but also give you a little bit of a synopsis as to why they're really not feasible for this design. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible. I guess the point is that the system that we're developing as our prime system here does limit us to a lot of the alternative energy solutions that, some of the systems you would be thinking about. So we'd be happy to go through what those systems are with a brief explanation, but we really want to hone in on the systems we know are going to be applicable and feasible here, which clearly is going to be as much an electric system as we could possibly do and maximizing our PV capability on this site. And then again, as we talked about cost benefit analysis, the one thing I will say again, Diane had mentioned, and I know a couple of board members have mentioned the last time as well, is the talk about net zero. Net zero is a commitment that Norwalk and the city, really needs to make, and not something that a consultant or design team can make for you. But what we can do, and what it is our responsibility to do, is design a system that will get you there or can be put on a path towards that goal in the future. So that talks about energy efficient systems, working with the architect to make sure the building itself is as efficient as possible so we can right size our systems and make them as small as possible, making sure we're minimizing our ventilation effects, and then we're able to maximize the efficiency. And when if the PV is installed, it maximizes how much payback you get and ultimately puts you on that path towards being net zero, or at the very least, a very energy efficient building. So it is our responsibility to do that, and that is our path forward.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Hildeman, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Livingston. Actually, Adam, you kind of answered it with your net zero comment, because I was going to ask the question about that. But I do have a question about the individual systems in each rooms. Are we dealing with then air exchanger issues because we're going to individual systems, or are we able to exchange the air at the proper rates for those rooms?
No, absolutely. So the air changes will be maintained. So we do have an energy recovery ventilator that goes on the roof. And what that does is constantly is changing that air. So if you consider a typical variable air volume system, which is your very baseline system, right? You do introduce a minimum amount of ventilation air required for that system, but then it constantly mixes with your return air, right? So while you are introducing a level of ventilation air, it's never quite cleaned out. You're never really fully purging a system. With an energy recovery system or energy recovery ventilator, you're constantly purging a constant amount of air out of the building. It takes the heat off of that system, preheats or pre-cools the air, whatever it may be, that you're bringing back in, and you're constantly being fed with an additional amount of fresh air. So you are in fact purging the building more than you would be with a typical VAV system. And then what the individual units in the spaces will do is you would duct that ventilation air directly to those systems. There is a small amount of return that comes through there, and you are dehumidifying that air as it hits the unit and providing it to the space.
So next month, when you're able to present the options in that, you're also going to be able to present a cost benefit analysis for each of these options at that point?
For the feasible energy solutions, yes, we will.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll be giving you a cost benefit analysis on those.
Thank you.
Any other?
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you, Adam. I look forward to the presentation next month.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's keep moving. Review recommendation for lighting energy conservation retrofit and refer the following to the council for action. I'll read all 4 items. 1A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA to provide LED lighting retrofit services at City Hall for a total project amount not to exceed $44,765. 1B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents with the Connecticut Light and Power Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to apply for and implement energy efficiency upgrade financing through Eversource on-bill financing program for the City Hall LED lighting retrofit project. Item 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA to provide LED lighting retrofit services at the Norwalk Public Works Center for a total project amount not to exceed $29,666.05, account noted. And item 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA to provide LED lighting retrofit services at the Norwalk Fire Headquarters for a total project amount not to exceed $11,361.11, account noted. You have a motion? Mr. Hoolman, thank you. Alan? You're muted.
Alan, you're on mute.
Oh, I was just talking to myself. This is part of a continued effort to look at our existing building, identify area that continue for energy conservation and improvement. Let me think about this. All 3 locations that's in here, the City Hall parking lot, Fire Department apparatus bay, and also DPW garage. We actually done lighting retrofit on these fixtures. These are actually retrofitted fixtures already. So these fixtures been replaced, and we're doing it another time because of the time that we implemented this improvement to now. There's additional savings in terms of energy conservation. City Hall is a little different. City Hall is because the fixture we bought no longer, we can never get the replacement part anymore. Because the light fixture very unique. So we actually back probably like 10, 15 years ago, we went to this called induction light fixtures. So this time we were converting into LEDs, but you can't just take the interior gut of the fixtures. You actually have to buy the whole new fixture to replace it. So the payback, if you should replace, a ballast or the fixture or something like that, it's less expensive. It's a retrofit. But when you have to replace the whole fixture, instead of $500, it may cost you $1,000. So that's why the payback is not as good. But at the same time, is that we have more than just an electrical conservation need, with a replacement maintenance need. So City Hall, we are redoing this, and it's because it's under the Eversource is our energy provider. They offer a program to as a low 0% interest loan to the city, and we pay for the electric bills. So that's why there's two action in here. One is to contract with the company to retrofit it, and then thereafter authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Eversource for the cost of the replacement, so that it's not a capital cost. We pay it through operating costs, and it's part of electric bills. On DPW garage, it's the garage base, and I believe we have T8 fixture. So this will go LEDs, and it's not substantial in terms of cost. It's I'm looking at the numbers here. For DPW garage, it's $30,000 roughly. And then for the fire headquarters is actually the gold lead building. So these light fixture, I think maybe T8 also. And we're going to convert these into LEDs. So and that project is about $11,000. And the fire headquarters, second taxing district, and the DPW is third taxing district. So they're all different utility companies for us. So bottom line is we went out RFP, we got a number of proposals, you evaluated them with our team. And based on the various different numbers we looked at in consideration of warranties and things like that, we are recommending this company for all three projects together.
Ms. Ayers?
Thank you, Chair Livingston. My question is, Alan, I know this is in a step in the right direction to be a more sustainable city, particularly in the City Hall parking lot. Have we looked at solar lights? It's a thing. Have we even considered that?
No, we haven't.
Okay. I just want to say that, again, I know that going LED we're going the right way. But we have a whole ad hoc committee about Norwalk being more sustainable. And so I think not tonight, but at some point we need to look when, if I understood you correctly, since we're replacing the whole pole because what we were using is no longer in use, we should try to look for solar or more sustainable things in those instances. I know that's not every situation, but when those situations occur, I would encourage that we look for more sustainable options and not just.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like we're
Yeah.
going in the right direction, but
We're only replacing the fixture on top, so that we're not replacing the pole.
But even in that, because we have to replace the fixture because it's no longer, we can no longer get a bulb for it. I think those are unique opportunities where we could then look at being a little bit more innovative and looking at more sustainable lighting when those particular projects come up. I know they don't always come up, but when they do come up, I would encourage we look at more sustainable solar lightings and things of that nature. That's it.
Mr. Hillman?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Livingston. Hey, Alan, are we at all talking or considering about looking at retrofit to LED inside the buildings?
For all our building or some of the buildings? Which I mean, the specific
Well,
building?
I mean, some of the buildings to start with, eventually all the buildings, the cost savings on LED. Have we looked into that, doing in our internal lighting? Now, a lot of our lighting is fluorescent right now, moving from CFL to the LED.
We have. We look at, for discussion's sake, I think for Nathaniel Ely Center, I think. I don't manage specific projects, but what we do is that Eversource offer incentive to actually replaces the light bulb. You can actually get a LED light bulb. I think it was $6. I think that's what, I think it used to be like $12 or $18, something, I forgot how much it is. So recently there was a package that you can actually get replacement bulb, which is a T8 bulb, looks exactly like a T8 bulb, but it's LED in there for $6 a piece. So we use our staff to replace all the light bulbs. I think it was the Nathaniel Ely Center, right? And some of the gyms and stuff, I think we looked at it for Ben Franklin. We went to LED already. We used to have I think it was like 300 watt incandescent bulbs. We went to a fluorescent bulb, 115 watts. And I think recently we replaced them with LED bulbs. Okay, so we do those. I don't even know about some of the stuff. So because it's like we continue to look at all this. City Hall is the one that we did that pilot like 5 years ago to get to T8. We have used to have 3 light bulbs in one of the fixtures. We went down to 3 light bulbs to 2 light bulbs, and we went to, instead of 32 watts, I think we went down to like 25 watts or something like that, and only 2 bulbs. We are considering the next phase, but then once you go LED, you actually change entire fixtures. So that's something we need to look at. Sometimes when you change the bulb, you're not changing balance. The balance is still burning energy. So we got to look at all those factors in it. I think City Hall's next step is actually do another retrofit on interior City Hall. Different building we do it. We are aware of it. It's not like we're not doing it. We look at each specific location, see what we have, and the usage too. Sometimes like a gym, like a Ben Franklin gym, we actually calculate the hours of use time. Because during the day, nobody uses it. So 5 days a week, nobody uses it except at night for like, again, for 3 hours or something. The cost, you can spend the cost of replacing the fixture, but the payback isn't there, right? So those are all the things we consider.
Okay, thank you.
So I can be more specific next time we get together, and I have my team to do a listing of all the buildings, see what we've done for each building, but
Well, I'd love to know what buildings have been done, but I've also loved to know if there's any way to look at any of cost savings over time from a utility savings, if we've got any of those numbers as well. And then what the cost. I know that some of the fixtures you have to replace the whole fixture. Sometimes you can just replace a lamp in the fixture and you get the benefit of the LED. So it would be nice to know, because if we could, continue ourselves on that path of fitting those items, we're over time saving an extraordinary amount of money. I mean, the difference from incandescent down to LED is huge. So, and we've taken the step in the intermediate with CFL. If we could go to LED, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, for something like the main library, I think we did retrofit twice already. Well, I think we're about to do a third time kind of thing. So it's not something that we're not aware of. It's once you change it once, it takes a number of certain years of usage for the technology to reach the next level of conservation to be cost effective, right? In the old days, when you got money, there's a requirement that you have to keep the fixture for like 3 or 5 years before you can change it again, because because people pay money for those.
Yeah, so Alan, I think it would be helpful to get sort of to the extent you can, without too much work, put together this sort of schedule you talked about. But I think maybe you can also just explain a little bit to the committee how you selected these projects and what made these the ones you picked versus, say, another project.
Yeah, I think let me get back. I think Neil from our office is probably a better position to explain, overall picture of all the buildings.
Right, that's fine. All right. Okay. Any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Ms. Altman's yes. Opposed? Abstain? Oh, you're opposed, Ms. Harris? Okay, so we have 6 in favor, one opposed. Ms. Harris opposed. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Next item is item E, review bid results for the installation of building energy management system at the South Norwalk Library, and refer the following recommendation to the council for approval. 1A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Tucker Mechanical, Inc. for the South Norwalk Branch Library Building Energy Management System installation project for a total not to exceed $53,411. Account noted. 1B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $8,000. Do I have a motion? I'm gonna do something different. Well, Mr. Keegan, which I already did too. Okay, Alan.
South Norwalk Library was renovated back in 2007 or so, I think it was. So it was put in a mechanical system. The control there wasn't too much control to that system, so we are looking to upgrade that building to our current control companies, and I think this is going to KMC, which is the manufacturer that is going to provide these control equipment. So it's really part of the upgrade for energy efficiency to manage the equipment properly. We have remote. One of these days, I think we have our team to show you how to, when we talk about building management system, it's interesting. It's very kind of it's technology that I don't play with every day. I don't play with it at all. But our building engineer managed the building remotely. We can actually see. I think City Hall has it. Maybe when we do come back to City Hall, maybe we can actually go into the mechanical room to see how the stuff works. It's kind of very interesting. They show the fan, the pressure intake fan going, and the thermostat control at different point in the mechanical system. That's pretty unique kind of stuff. So the technology is very interesting. South Norwalk Library doesn't have that. So this project will bring that to the standard of all our rest of our building energy management system for the citywide.
So, Alan, to Ms. Loricella's comment about the building envelope down there, is there anything that can, I don't know how do you respond to that?
She mentioned two things. She mentioned fire headquarters and I mean, you can take any building actually. When we designed the fire headquarters, we designed the silver LEED standards. We end up achieving gold standards. Nobody really knows that. We don't talk about it much, but it's actually we are gold certified. The design of the building envelope is very unique. It's actually all spray foam insulation, and at the time the building was designed, the concern was exterior. They call it thermal brick. So when you actually if you do a scan, heat scan of the building, all the exterior beams are fully continuously covered. So there is no point that the exterior corners can go touch the beam and transfer a different part of the building. So there's extensive design criteria that we have to comply with in terms of applying insulation. So it's all spray on insulation. So it's not like typical matte insulation. You got a lot of voids in it. This is all sprayed on, so there's continuous. So the building is the envelope is highly insulated to that perspective. So so again, that building, there's no concern at all. So South Norwalk Library is a historic building. So when we renovated, we didn't rip out the whole building. So again, I mean, the cost of the City Hall, I mean, the City Hall is built in 1986 or so. The insulation in the building, but you want to insulate better, then you got to rip out all the interior walls and it's millions of dollars to save the energy. I don't know whether it's ever going to be feasible to do something like that. So it's very easy to say that, oh, we got to insulate the building. Just think about the windows. I always feel City Hall window is not very well insulated. But at the same time, is that it will cost millions to do the windows. It's like, what is the payback? I really don't know, because it's very hard. It's like, I think someone made a comment before about school windows. We spent West Rock School. We spent probably about $3.5 million to replace all the windows. I think physically we have to replace them because they're really bad windows. But if you do it for energy, I don't think we ever make $3.5 million back by replacing the windows. So again, there's cost analysis that we need to do. But at the same time, we're back to the South Norwalk Library. We renovated in 2006, and to the extent that all the walls that we touched, all the things that renovated, we insulated it. Anything the historic portion of the building, we did not rip out all of the plaster walls and things like that to insulate behind it. So I'm not sure we're about to do all that stuff just to insulate the exterior envelope. But anything new in terms of roofing, we put insulation in it to meeting all the codes to provide insulated on the roof. And again, the addition we put in the back is fully insulated. So again, the historic portion, I agree, the historic portion, we haven't done anything between the wall because we didn't rip out the interior walls.
Sure.
So all the new portions are fully insulated.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Seeing none. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Alan, anything else? Or you gonna let us go?
No, nothing else.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Miss Ayers. Okay. All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night.